I noticed that adults, grown-ups, have fear. And I'm not talking about the fear of walking across the road or getting robbed or something like that, physical fear. But I noticed that grown people have fear. Isn't that weird? Like you can grow up from a little kid to an adult child, adult man or woman, and have fear. And I wonder, that is so interesting to me. I wonder, and then I was thinking, do I have fear? Did I have fear when I became an adult? And I remember I had fear, but I was only had fear with the woman that I would be dating. I didn't have fear with anyone else. I never been afraid to speak up. I never cared about what people said or thought about me. And I wondered about that. I wonder, how come I was talking to a cousin of mine, and she reminded me, Punchie, you never care about what people say about you. You always been that way. And I realized the reason I never cared about what people said or thought about me, because when I was born, when I was a little kid, I still have it, in case y'all see it. I had a big head. And the kids at school used to tease me about my head. They could call me waterhead, all kinds of stuff. And then when I could never wear a cap, because no sizes. And so I was constantly reminded of that when I was a kid. But I never got mad about it. I used to laugh. When they laughed, I laughed too because I thought it was true. And I used to wonder, well, how come my hair is so big? And then when I finally saw my dad, I realized that's why. I usually didn't like my dad because his hair was so big. But then then I became proud to have a big head when I loved him. And so the kids always teased me about the big head, so that wasn't a problem. And then I was born with a cleft lip. My lip was split open when I was born, right? And I didn't have a palate, so my voice didn't come out well. And I was always teased about that in school and stuff like that. And I thought that was funny too. So they were laughing. But the reason I didn't, and so they would laugh at me about it, tease me about it. And I would laugh too. I didn't think much about it. And then when we were growing up, the other guy, we got like 14 or 15, they were like, Punchie, you're never gonna have a girlfriend because you got a big head. I'm like, oh, we'll see. And so I always went after the pretty girls because to see if they want an ugly guy, right? And so I always got the pretty girls. And they couldn't understand that. The guy couldn't, why you get the pretty girls? Because I wasn't afraid of them. Really, I wasn't. The only time I was afraid of them, if I was going to break up with them, I was afraid to be honest with them, right? And so I always got the pretty girl. I remember the girl that asked me for a quarter, she was pretty. And I only went after her because she was so pretty. She was dark-skinned and just pretty. And I went after her because my friends told me I could get her. And I went and I got her. I'm like, what's up? But the primary reason I didn't care or have fear about anything concerning those things was because my grandparents didn't allow me to have fear. And we were to go home from school saying that somebody talked they talked about me or they gonna beat me up, Mama would have whooped me. She was like, I don't want to hear that. You better be afraid of me. So I'm more afraid of getting a whooping than I was of other people. And so I grew up never thinking about what other people talk about me. Really, it didn't make sense that adults were afraid until now. I understand why they're afraid. But it didn't make sense that grown people have fear. Even as a kid, I was like your son. I would just speak up to adults. If I didn't agree, I didn't agree. If they were doing something stupid, I would just say it. And I remember one of my aunts told me, boy, your mouth gonna get you in trouble. I had said something about her. But I have never, thank God, known what it felt like to be an adult and have fear. Really, I don't know what that, I know what it's like now, but I didn't know what that was like. And I never understood how can you be a grown person and have fear. You know what I mean? But it had a lot to do with my upbringing. Because they would tell us, don't worry about what someone think about you. That person, why you care about that? That person doesn't count anyway. They just thought you should never do that. And so I never grew up being afraid like that. Only when I had a woman I'm about to break up with, or blah, 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 or I cheated on her. And I was afraid to tell her. But I never had fear. So what is it like to be a grown man and have fear? I remember, because I really, really wanted to understand fear. I remember when I started working for the hospital, I became a union steward. And the union steward means that you represent the union on the job site. Though you work for the job, you still represent the union. And so I was so good at representing the union because I had no fear. I was so good in my department that other departments would ask me to, they would have problems. Instead of calling on their own shop steward, they would call on me to come up and help them. But I remember I used to have run-ins with the managers of the jobs and things like that. But I just stood up to them. And I didn't think to have fear. I just told them the truth about the situation, fought for the employee, and I always won. Because one of the ladies was going to fire, she was going to get me fired. She had written up this big old report about me. And I was working for the trans driver department at the time. A Mexican lady, hi Mexican lady. And she hated me because she couldn't control me. But I wasn't thinking at the time she couldn't control me. I was just being mean because I didn't have a fear, so I didn't have anything to relate to. And I was just doing it, so she got so sick of me that she wrote up this big report about me and took it to what you call that department? DHS? HR. Yeah, HR department. I don't like HR. Some people love HR, right? And so she took it there, and I'm like, oh, okay. And so we went to the HR, and I didn't know she had written up all this stuff about me. And she had said I was poor in my work, I wasn't typing fast enough, reports typed fast enough, and she had all kind of stuff, right? I was like, really? That's interesting. And so I went back to my office, and I got my report. And I had all the good write-ups that she had written about me. Good worker, showed up on time, amazing personality. And I showed it to the HR people. She got so ticked, she quit. She literally quit. Isn't that something? But I went there with no fear. I wasn't afraid. Isn't that something? Amazing, huh? And I really have to think that it had a lot to do with my grandparents because they didn't, if they had it, I didn't know about it. They never displayed fear, and they never yelled at me for speaking up to adults. That plays a lot too. If you're a kid and you get yelled at for speaking up to adults, it brings fear on. Because now you think you got to treat an adult like they're special. And so you kind of grow up with that fear of that. So I really think, besides being laughed at all my life, I think that played the part in it. I'm so glad for that now. Because it would be horrible to be an adult and have fear. Who want to be grown with fear? Think about that. Do you have fear?
No, not really.
I'm sorry?
Not really.
And how about with your parents? Are you able to speak up to them, agree and disagree and stuff without being afraid?
Yeah.
That plays a big part in it. If you're not afraid of your parents, you're not going to be afraid of the world. That's right on, 17, right?
14.
14. What? No. Nice. Nice. Okay, you have fear?
Yes.
Right now you have fear.
Yes.
And why? Are you grown?
Yes.
Okay. Just for the record. And why do you have fear now?
Because I believe the thoughts.
And why?
Because sometimes, or most of the time, I don't just wait and see what happens. I'll think about what happens, and then I'll be afraid of that thought.
And before you understood the situation with thoughts, why did you have fear then?
I guess I could agree. I was afraid of my parents, speaking up to them or having an honest conversation with them.
And why?
Because they would get angry a lot at anything, or even if I just had a comment about what they said, they would get angry about that. So I lived my life just listening to them and understanding what they said without having a serious conversation about if I disagreed with them or not.
So has it been hard living in fear as an adult?
Yes.
Yeah. In what way?
In the way where most things I do with fear, and it's hard to just live my life.
Yeah. Well, it's a sad way to live, huh?
Yeah.
I noticed that my son doesn't have fear because I wouldn't let him have it when he was living with me. Now I wish I had allowed him to have fear so he can shut up sometimes. He won't shut up. He thinks he's disagreeing and agree all the time. And so are you overcoming it? That?
Yes.
Well, okay. Amazing. You want to come up here?
I have before.
Oh, I know. I'll mess with you. Do you have fear? Yes.
Yes.
Did you, so as an adult, and I understand you're working on it now, as an adult you have fear.
Yeah.
And why?
I think it's preconditioned.
Meaning what?
I was raised with fear. Certain things, now that I'm waking up, looking back how my parents were, their response to certain things in life was fear. And looking back, I can feel when the trauma came from their reaction, and that came onto me. It was like a virus that latched onto me coming from them.
And so, as an adult, before you start working on yourself, is it hard to live a life of fear?
I don't understand the question.
Is it hard living as an adult with fear before you start to work on yourself?
Before, yeah. Very much so.
And hard in what way?
Because it would become so consuming.
Yeah.
And I didn't know where it was, I mean, at the time I didn't know where it was coming from.
And so you're overcoming it now?
Yes.
And what does it feel like to be overcoming it now?
It's bliss.
Yeah.
Truly is bliss.
It's crazy to be living with fear, huh?
You know, it is crazy, and you can see it. Well, I see it more in other people. Of course, it's easier to see it in others. And then when I see it in others, like I stop and I'm like, wow, I look like that.
Yeah.
That's me in those moments. But that person, I'm because I'm present in that moment, I can see the other person. But when I'm going through it, something happens inside that I can't see myself.
Yeah. You're right. I can recognize fear in people now. I didn't know you could recognize. Even when people are faking that they don't have fear,
Right.
you can see that they have fear. You can't hide it.
Yep.
You cannot hide fear. Isn't
Yep.
that amazing? You have fear.
I do.
And did I give you guys the ladies' assignment for today from the Women's Forum? And I wanted you to tell me about it. I forgot. Didn't I tell y'all to do something? Yeah. I did. Yes. Did you do it? Don't say what it is. You did it. And you did it in the back. But you didn't. I can't hear you. You wrote it down, took it home, and threw it away. Okay. All right. We'll get to the assignment. Where was I? Oh, okay, go ahead. You have fear.
I do.
And what is it like as an adult to live a life of fear?
It's full of restraint. It's like I can't do what I know I need to do because it's there.
What does it feel like?
What does it feel like?
Yeah, what does it feel like?
I don't know. It just feels like I'm being restrained, like I'm being held back.
You are. Fear hold you back.
Yes.
For sure. Amazing. And are you working on yourself to overcome it?
Yes, I am.
How's that going?
It's really interesting because I've kind of been conditioned to like respect my my elders and people that are older than me. So now that I am, like, I'm not an elder, but I'm an adult.
You're not an elder?
I'm not an elder.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
Oh, you elder.
I am.
Ask a kid. No, I'm playing.
But that's what I was taught, like respect your elders.
Yep.
So now that I'm in these situations and circumstances where I have to like speak up to myself, I'm hitting that roadblock of like, oh, this is an elder. I can't speak to them that way, or I can't be as direct. But I have been more direct, and it is very uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable?
It is.
And you do it anyway, right?
I do.
Nice.
I do.
Absolutely. And how does it feel to do it anyway, to break out that prison of fear?
I have this wave of guilt that comes over me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, Shalisha, you shouldn't be talking to him that way. He's an elder. Like, he's old. You shouldn't do that. But I'm like, I need to speak this way. And I'm not speaking in like a rude or malicious way. I'm an adult. Like, I'm just talking. I'm talking to you one-on-one. Like that. That's
right.
it.
Right on. Did you block your sister?
No, I didn't block her, but I think I was set up the other day. My other sister called me, and I had a feeling that it was a three-way call. I had a strange inkling that it was. And she just subtly asked me if I was ignoring my other sister. And I told her, like, no, I'm not. I'm not angry at her. I just don't have anything to say to her right now. I just think I'm just good not saying anything to her right now. And she was like, oh, okay. We just kind of like moved on. The conversation was unusually short. That's why I get the feeling that I was on a three-way call. But yeah, I haven't heard from her. So I do think she got the message in a way.
So why didn't you ask your sister, are we on a three-way call here?
I don't know. I just didn't ask.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't ask. I just knew.
So
I just
now
kind of
you
felt.
should block her too. You need to learn how to block. Why don't you block? You've been the subject of the talk show all week.
Well,
Why don't you block?
the sister that called me, she doesn't harass me like that in the first place. So it's like I have no.
But she should at least tell you, hey, you're on a three-way call here.
Well, she didn't. I just only felt like it was.
Oh, you're
I'm
not
not
sure.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Whatever. All right. Yes, sir.
I think what you're saying about families and conditioning from your family is important. And I think it's 100% right, because you mentioned Anthony and how he behaves, but one thing that we've done with him from the very moment that he was born is we never talked to him like a baby. We never did a whole bunch of goo-goo, gaga, and all this. We talked to him like he was a young man from the very beginning, and that's the way he behaved.
And he's allowed to agree or disagree.
We allow him to
guys?
disagree with us.
Nice.
We allow him to speak his mind freely all the time.
Yeah.
And another reason I know what you're saying is right, because I can remember when I was young and I had fear. In this one particular situation, I had some bullies chasing me. And it was probably about 6 or 7 different bullies at one time. And they used to harass me at school because we, back in the days, we used to walk to school miles back and forth, and we had complete freedom. But I had this group of guys that were bothering me, right? And they threatened me a lot. And so I could remember coming home one day, and my mom and my aunts and some of my uncles saw them harassing me, and they told me, you need to go out there and fight them now. And they didn't tolerate fear. They didn't tolerate me being fearful to be outside without them protecting me. And there was a climate like that back in the day, in the olden days, where adults didn't allow kids to have fear. And so I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, he's right. In the good old days, parents were they were different in that they didn't allow you to have fear. My parents didn't even allow me to judge somebody. If somebody did me wrong, they're like, you need to forgive. And so I grew up that way, and I used to have all these parties, because I used to smoke pot. Not that much pot. just on Fridays. And the reason I started smoking pot, 'cause all my little friends smoking pot, right? And so I started getting a government check because I smoke pot. And they said, well, if you can't smoke pot, you can get a free welfare check. So I went down and got a free check, so I would have these parties every Friday. And I would invite all my friends over. And so I was like the talk of the town about the party thing. Because the Mexicans would come over, they would have, Mexicans love beer. They would have cans of beer. And they would get like really drunk and they fall out on your floor and they have to sleep over there all night. I was like, what the? But, and so I remember some of the people, my friends used to get jealous about the party and they would be talking about me. And then I find out and I was like, oh, I heard you talking about me. And then they like, oh, I'm sorry. I said, oh, no problem. I never held it against them because I knew they couldn't help it. But I didn't know they couldn't help it. I just knew never, because in those days, black people didn't hate white people. They knew it was good or bad in all of us, and we should treat people the way we like. So I was kind of raised that way a little bit. And so I never really held a grudge. Even today, I hold no grudges against anyone about anything. I'm free, have always been free of grudges. You know something? Yes, we're supposed to be free. I guess the older people kind of knew that back then, because they didn't have TV, they didn't have internet, and they didn't have all the stuff you have now. They had parents. We had to go to the cotton field, so they paid attention to their children in the right way. And speaking of elderly, my producer is black, young guy. How old is Derek? Young. And he see James and Nick and Doug and these guys as his elderly. I'm like, why don't you speak up to James and Nick? He's like, oh, those my elders. I'm like, boy, they ain't that old. One more, and then I want to tell you about fear, and we're going to deal with it. The young lady in white, have you gotten over your fear?
Not completely.
And what? And so, before you start working on yourself, what was it like living as an adult with fear?
I mean, some of my earliest memories are with fear, so I kind of grew up as a difficult child, even from 3 and 4. Like I didn't live in a way like most kids did, so most of my childhood and my young adult years were completely full of fear, to quite an extreme level. So.
And it held you back in what way?
In a lot of ways.
Give me an example if you can.
Like not being able to go to school, or like leaving school, and then my parents finding me and bringing me back, and different things. Yeah.
And were you able to, as an adult, were you out and about dealing with people in the world? Were you able to speak up or not? Especially when you disagreed or before getting angry, were you able to speak up?
With my family, yes.
How about other people?
No.
And why not?
Just too nervous.
Nervous?
And too shy. Yeah. At the time, yeah.
Right. Amazing, huh? So you're overcoming that now, right?
Oh, yeah. When I was like 20, 21, I cried out to God and I was like, I can't live like this.
Yeah.
Like, help me. And then I overcome all of that level of fear. Now I would say that I only have, I guess, what you would consider regular fear here and there when I become unconscious. But then when I catch it,
right,
and I see it's the thoughts, and then I,
Right on. What is it like to live without it when you realize, when you catch the thought?
Say that again?
What is it like to live without fear?
Without fear?
Yeah.
It's freeing. You're just in the moment, you're just present, and it's awesome.
Amazing, huh? Right on.
Yeah.
Nice. I remember I had a fight once with a guy about a baseball bat at school, and I knew I had to fight because I couldn't go home crying. And I just dealt with it. It was my only fight I ever had, in school. But it was just wasn't tolerated. It wasn't talked about and it wasn't tolerated, whether you should have it or not. They just didn't put up with it. My granddad would never put up. I don't think he was afraid of anybody or anything. Nothing. I can't even imagine him. He wasn't afraid of women. He wasn't afraid of men. He wasn't afraid of white. He wasn't afraid of black. I can't imagine him. I don't know what it would look like for him to have fear. And my father was the same way, because even when my father got old and he bought a bunch of poppy bills and things like that around in Indiana, and then he had to fight with some of the tenants when they didn't want to pay rent, he would get all in their face. And my brother would be like, Dad, what you doing? He didn't care. He wanted money. Oh, you gotta move. He wasn't nice. He wasn't mean. We're not supposed to have fear. It is an abnormal state of life. Our parents shouldn't even, as you were saying about your son, our parents should not set us up by telling us you gotta treat somebody. We know to treat people right. If people treat us right, we're gonna treat them right anyway, right? But you shouldn't teach your children to have fear. It's just such a holdback in life. Like when you say you're afraid of being humiliated if you got up, right? That should have never happened to you, period. But we'll get back to that in a minute, because I saw a couple here. I saw, no, over here, and then here.
So regarding fear, you've mentioned whoever has fear has anger,
Yes.
anxiety.
Yeah.
So is fear just the absence of being present?
I'm sorry? Yes.
Is fear just everything else? Like if you're not present, you have fear, and if you have fear, you judge and
Man, I'm going to
everything
hit
down
on
the
that
list.
in a minute.
Okay.
Amazing question. Absolutely. No, yes, sir.
So how do you raise a child to not have fear?
One way is not to be telling them, oh, don't speak to that adult like that. Oh, I'm grown. I'm your mama. Don't talk to mama like that. I brought you in this world. I'll take you out.
Yeah, right.
Or you're disrespecting me, and I'm your mama, and you're not supposed to disrespect me. That's a fearful person telling a child to be afraid.
Okay, so if the child fears the parent, then they're going to
Yes,
be afraid.
it
Yeah.
started with that,
Yeah.
for the most part, exception to the rule. But they teach you got to respect them, right? My granddad never told me I had to respect him. I just knew to respect him. But yeah, it starts there. If the young girl mother never told her father, oh, you can't speak up, I'm the parent. Who you think you're talking to? Shut your mouth. I'm your mother. You talking back to me? Anybody ever heard that? That's fear. They're putting fear in you. And you're going to be afraid of the world. It's the same spirit everywhere you go. But if you never taught your child that, they're going to treat you the way you treat them. They really will. That make sense?
Yes, it does.
All right. Omi, you have fear? Omi.
No, me.
Yeah, I like about man.
Yeah,
You
I
do?
think I do.
And what is it like being an adult with fear?
Just knowing there's something I need to do, and I have some kind of anxiety about it, or like some kind of worry about it. It's usually that. It's usually something I need to take care of. That
And how do you normally function when the fear comes? What do you normally do?
just try to push through it and do it. If I don't want to push through it, I ask myself why I'm anxious or afraid or worried about something. And like somebody said earlier, usually you don't have a reason. Like, I'll get a little nerdy. In engineering, you talk about failure modes. It's like, why will something break specifically?
Right.
And then you address that failure mode. And then if you ask yourself, like, what is the failure mode? Like, what is the specific thing I'm afraid of in dealing with this? The tax season just came. It's like, why am I afraid to do my taxes? It's like, because the government's going to come get me? Like, no. Is it because I'm afraid of, being broke or bankrupt? Like, no. You can kind of walk through these things and you realize that overwhelmingly your fears don't actually have any real reason other than just
man.
some little spirit in you whispering.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Nice.